Darkness loomed over Egypt as fear among the Hebrews. Ruthless soldiers searching for newborn baby boys. Mothers' hearts heavy with fear. Some whispered prayers, others held their babies close. Pharaoh sat upon his throne. His eyes burned with cruelty as he declared, "No Hebrew boy shall live." In the land of Egypt, a child was born, Moses. But in a time of fear, his mother placed him in a small basket, setting him afloat on the great river Nile, praying that God would keep him safe. As the tiny basket drifted along the water, Pharaoh's daughter discovered it among the reeds. She gasped in surprise as she lifted the little baby into her arms. Though he was a Hebrew child, she took him in as her own, naming him Moses. Moses grew up in the grand halls of Pharaoh's palace, but he never forgot who he truly was, a child of Israel. One day, Moses saw people were suffering under the heavy chains of slavery. It filled him with sorrow and anger. A Hebrew slave collapses, his breath weak. A taskmaster's whip rises, but Moses steps in, gripping his arm mid-strike. Day later, in the pyramid shadows, Moses frantically buries the fallen taskmaster, unaware of the lone witness. The next day, tension erupts. A Hebrew man sneers, "Will you kill me as you killed the Egyptian?" Moses freezes, his secret is out. Meanwhile, in Pharaoh's throne room, fury ignites. "Find Moses!" His command echoes as soldiers stand ready. Full of Pharaoh's wrath, he fled into the desert, leaving behind the only home he had ever known. After reaching Midian, Moses saw shepherds harassing the local women. With courage, he stepped forward, defending them, earning their gratitude. Did he know this act of kindness would change his life forever? Moses guides his flock, his eyes distant. Nearby, Jethro's tent glows, a quiet refuge in his new life. On night, Moses gazes at the towering mountain. A golden glow flickers at its peak, calling him forward. There he saw a bush in flame. A voice spoke, "I am the God of your father. Go and free my people." Moses sits in silence, doubt heavy in his heart. The burning bush flickers in the distance. His calling awaits. Under the night sky, Moses grips his staff. Doubt fades, determination rises. His journey is set. At dawn, Moses departs Midian. His family watches as he steps toward destiny, the desert stretching before him. With faith in his heart, Moses obeyed. He returned back to Egypt, ready to face Pharaoh. "Let my people go," he declared. But Pharaoh laughed. He would not set the Hebrews free. And so, the plagues began. At Moses' command, River Nile turned to blood. But Pharaoh refused to listen. Frogs swarmed the palace, leaping onto Pharaoh and the floor. Servants panicked, but Pharaoh refused to yield. Pharaoh sat defiant on his throne as his advisors whispered. Moses stood firm, his hardened heart would bring greater judgment. Then came the final plague. On that fateful night, every Egyptian firstborn perished, even Pharaoh's own son. Finally, Pharaoh could resist no more. "Go," he cried. "Leave Egypt!" With joy and tears, the Hebrews gathered their families and belongings. At last, they were free, guided by Moses. Pharaoh changed his mind. He sent his mighty army to chase them down. But Moses raised his staff, and the sea split apart, forming a path through the deep. The Israelites crossed safely, and as the Egyptians pursued, the waters crashed down, sweeping them away. Freedom was theirs. At the foot of Mount Sinai, the Israelites made their camp, enjoying their freedom. Here, something incredible was about to happen. Thirsty and hungry, the Israelites cried out in desperation. Moses struck the rock, and fresh water gushed forth, quenching their thirst. Then, at dawn, tiny flakes fell from the sky like snow. "What is this?" the people wondered. Moses smiled and said, "It is the bread from heaven, God's gift to sustain us." Thunder roared, and fire covered the mountain as God descended upon it. The Israelites trembled, knowing they stood before the Almighty. High upon the mountain, Moses stood before God. And then, the 10 Commandments were given, laws that would guide God's people forever. Carrying the sacred stone, Moses made his way down. But as he neared the camp, he heard something terrible. In his absence, the people had built a golden calf and were worshipping it. Moses' heart burned with sorrow.
In righteous anger, Moses shouted at the people and raised the tablets high, then hurled them down, shattering them upon the ground. You've forgotten his mighty works, plague, sea, manna. He alone has led us, provided for us, and yet you worship a lifeless idol. The people fell silent, ashamed of their betrayal. But God's mercy is great. The covenant was renewed, and Moses brought forth new tablets. The people humbled, bowed before the Lord. Their journey was not over, but they had been given a new beginning. Thanks for watching.